Now, let's get back to the biggest news this week. The Naira came under pressure, further pressure against the US dollar as the stock market softens mainly around the banking counters and foreign exchange. Liquidity crunch became harder. All of this on the back of a fiercely contested presidential primaries of the country's ruling All Progressive Congress and a few other political parties, such as the NNPP, the AAC, and others. But what is the message of the market for the presidential candidates in the 2023 general elections, bringing the high-wire political and markets week to a close tonight? For me is Johnson Chukwu, who is a licensed dealer and CEO at Carry Asset Management. Good evening to you, sir. Thanks for coming through tonight. What do you make of the political week so far?
Good evening, Boston, and thank you for having me. Interestingly, some of the parameters you just mentioned about market progress could actually be barometers to measure what has happened in the past 1 week. We saw attention shift from every activity to political activities. We saw the ruling party carry on or conduct their presidential primaries, and we saw what looked like a transparent primaries. We saw former Lagos State Governor Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu winning that primaries, and so clearly some of the hurdles we've had, some of the concerns we've had, that the process of selecting the candidates of the parties could actually be convoluted and could lead to some level of instability, has been overcome. We also saw PDP, that is the main opposition party, conduct theirs about 2 weeks ago, and it was also smooth. I mean, transparently smooth, or obviously, I mean, what I can see was smooth, and it was also seemed to be what one would say was very transparent. So we've crossed one of the key hurdles, which was among the concerns we had at the beginning of this year, that look, the party primaries must be seen to be fair and objective, and that the person who commands the highest number of votes among the delegates should win. We've seen that in the two major political parties. So I would say that in terms of our political risk, one of which has been crossed. Of course, there are still a lot of others as we go ahead.
Interesting. Is the market street watching the unfolding presidential candidacy of the parties as they emerge? Some folks says the politicians are gone with the entire foreign currency. They can't find any piece of dollar anywhere because it's all gone.
Yes, Boston, you know, some of the permutations people had was there was an assumption or speculation that dollars, foreign currency were mopped up by the political actors as for purpose of inducing delegates for the elections. And there was expectation that if that assumption was true, that immediately after the primaries, the beneficiaries of those dollars should have gone back to the market to sell them. But we're not seeing that. So it puts question mark the original assumption that there was a mop-up. Because ideally, if there was a mop-up and the dollars went to the hands of peasants, do you expect that those peasants who do not conduct business in dollar will come back to the market and offload them? But we're not seeing any moderation in rates. So the assumption may not have been initially correct. Then the other things you have to look at, I mentioned the market process. And I said that if the market process is anything to go by, you have said the equities market has not seen any rally. We've seen further pressures on the exchange rate. These are indications that the optimism that you should expect when the populace is expecting a change in the direction of the people or the economy or the direction in this a redirection, a change in the direction of the society, it's not there yet. It's not there yet. So we're not yet seeing optimism as a result of the emergence of major candidates of the major political parties.
Does the market have a preference for any political party or presidential candidate? I remember the June 12th, by the way, back then between the SDP and the NRC. Yes. So does the market have any preference this time around?
Well, currently I doubt, of the two major parties, I don't think the market has any preference for them. There is actually dampened feeling when the two parties came up with their presidential candidates, which is why I say that the market proxies that you mentioned have not shown any indication that there is general public optimism or societal optimism. In terms of whether the market will eventually have a preference, maybe the jury is still out. We need to hear more of their economic policies. We already know their economic orientations. Both of them, the two major parties, both of them are evenly, can actually be evenly said to be free market oriented. And then the third force, which is actually where the Nigerian youths are tending towards. There's clear excitement among the youths when we talk of the third force. But like I said, the journey is still too long. We're still about 8 months away from the presidential election. And as we move towards the election, the policies, the programs of the major political actors will be more obvious. And then Nigerians will begin to determine which of them will give us a better country.
Though politics influence the financial markets or vice versa, Johnson?
Yes, absolutely. In the short run, politics triumphs over economy. In the long run, economics triumphs over politics. So we're looking at the short term. And the thing we must bear in mind that political leaders make economic decisions that affect the general economy. So certainly, politics will influence and affect the economy. If the wrong policy choices are made, the economy will suffer. If the right policy choices are made, the economy will grow and blossom. And these choices are made by political leaders.
So you think if we have more clarity, do you think the stock market's exchange rate could move because the market thinks any of the candidates sounds more reassuring than the other? Do you think that will happen as we saw sometimes in the US elections?
Yes, what will happen is that as we move closer to the election period, and if there is a clear leader in terms of public opinion, a party or a presidential candidate who is most likely to win the election, policymakers will begin to line up their bets in the direction of that person winning, and they begin to hedge their investments in expectation of what policies that leader will take. But most of this will actually manifest after the election. Immediately after the election, if the right candidate is elected into power, we should expect public optimism, which will lead to market rallies. But if the wrong candidate is elected into power, you're going to see dampened feelings, which could lead to market sell-off. And so all these things will come as a leader emerges.
All right, we thank you so much, and we appreciate your perspectives and insights. Johnson Chukwu, CEO at Carrier Asset Management. Enjoy your weekend, and see you next time here on Arise Exchange.